That one, it just came very naturally. Charlie was visiting New York for the Met Gala, and I was throwing a unofficial Met Gala frequencies party.
The world-famous KROQ, KROQ music director Miles the DJ here backstage at Coachella. Weekend 2, day 5 overall. We're getting through this with one of the great artists on the bill, performed last weekend. We'll be performing in a few hours as we record this, The Dare.
How's it going?
How's it going, man? Thanks for taking some time with us.
That's my pleasure, really.
I want to get into you as an artist, The Dare, people who may be discovering you for the first time. For anyone just catching up, who is The Dare, and how did this whirlwind of success start for you?
Yeah, I'm The Dare, yours truly. I'm from New York City. I mean, not originally. I'm from Seattle, but I've been living in New York for a while now. And I started making music as The Dare in New York, started DJing there, performing. And I put out a song called Girls a few years ago that sort of snowballed into a full-on band and project and lifestyle, which I'm now continuing.
I know you were born originally in West Hollywood, very briefly before you moved to Seattle. I host a show on KROQ called Locals Only. Does that count? Is playing The Dare on an LA-based show, does that count? Can I do that?
I think it counts, yeah. Yeah.
Let's allow it.
Yeah.
You studied English literature, you're an educator, becoming from that to one of the most consequential and successful DJs on the planet, frankly. Mm-hmm. It's all happening really fast for you. Do you ever just sort of look around, pinch yourself and say how did I get here?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened quite quickly, so It's kind of a roller coaster. And it changes every day, so that kind of question of how did I get here becomes different, whether I'm at Coachella right now or, playing a pre-show at Primavera last year or just got off tour of Europe last month. So there were many times when I was in random parts of the UK or Europe where Austria, for example, didn't think I would ever go there. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy, and I'm just constantly adjusting. So,
how did the name The Dare come to be?
It's not that romantic. It's just I had to pick a band name, and I always loved classic The names. Sure. I kind of grew up listening to a lot of The bands, and it's also sort of a New York lineage thing to have a The band name, from The Strokes, The Velvet Underground. The
Kills.
The LCD sound system.
There's a really funny Sum 41 video from back in the day. I don't remember what song it was on the top of my head, but Will Sasso starts it. He's like, "You guys are a The band now. The Strokes, The Hives, the Led Zeppelins, huh?" So it's working out for you. You mentioned Girls earlier, the song that kind of blew you up. Are you seeing that song is still having momentum, people discovering it still? Do you see that song still becoming a thing as time goes on?
Yeah, I think especially now in 2025, the way that songs become popular or, experience revivals is just totally not linear. And you saw this with Kate Bush and TikTok a few years ago, having this charting hit that I don't know if it originally ever charted. But every day somebody new hears Girls or hears my music for the first time, which is cool because I've been doing it for a while now. So it's cool that it's fresh in people's minds all the time, which is interesting.
What's cool about it, too, is, you have a song like that blows up so fast. It could be easy for an artist to sort of be known for that one song, right? But in the short period of time, you've been able to follow it. So many great records. LCA recently came out. Perfume, one of my favorites of yours that you performed last weekend. A song in particular I love is Good Times, which sort of has a Rapture, Peaches, Fisher Spooner vibe to it. You're kind of, you have your own sound, but you explore different sounds at the same time, if that makes sense. Have you been able to kind of hone in on that, and have you sort of figured out what your sound is?
Yeah, definitely. I think at the beginning, especially with that song, I was trying to make a song like Warm Leatherette by The Normal, which was sort of one of the founding songs of Electroclash, I would say, aesthetically. And at that point in time, I was just still figuring out how to make music that even sounded like that era, or how to use certain drum machines and when and why to use them. And I think at this point in time, I have a much better grasp of that genre, and sort of in upcoming songs have a lot more play with sort of the associations and styles that orbit it.
It's cool because you have like kind of a almost like a danger to your music. It's very like in your face. It's got like a punk rock aesthetic to it, but you mentioned the bands of the early 2000s as well. So to see what you're able to do, and also with the technology that's at your fingertips these days, it's making music in a way that hasn't really been done before in a lot of ways, from what I can tell. And you're all over the place, right? A song you're also known for is producing guests, Charlie XCX and Billie Eilish. It was up for a Grammy Award, talking about how things are going so fast for you. Won a Brit Award for Song of the Year. Talk to me about how that came to be, and your relationship with Charlie.
Yeah, that one, it just came very naturally. Charlie was visiting New York for the Met Gala, and I was throwing a unofficial Met Gala frequencies party, which is the party I throw in New York and now globally. And we had worked on a few ideas over the past year before this party, and she was excited about playing one of them maybe. She was like, would you want to play one? I'll come to the party, like, test it out. And that one we had never felt that strongly about, or it had just been kind of cast to the side, the original version. And I think the day before or the day of, I decided to make sort of like a club edit version of the demo that was in existence. So I just made it really, really quickly in like maybe an hour or two, sent it to her. She was really excited about the version that I had sort of made. We played it at the party. Obviously, she came, people took videos of it. There was sort of like this groundswell of excitement around that song. People didn't know if it was her song or my song or what was going on. And then over the course of the Met Gala weekend, we went to the studio and sort of put the finishing touches on it. So it came together very, very quickly. And then she put it on the deluxe, which is, the rest is history.
Is it true that one of the first times you hung out, just to get to know each other, she came to your apartment and you had to kick your roommates out? Is that a true story?
Yeah,
Is that
it's
real?
true. It's true. She just hit me up, I think, like a little while after Girls came out, and people had first started hearing about it. She was in Delaware, I think, on tour with Dua Lipa, and was like, can I come over to your house tomorrow? I'll take a car up. And I said, sure. And so my roommates, I had to explain to them what was going on. They didn't believe me. I said, you need to go stay in your room so you don't fangirl out or freak her out or something, or just take a long walk. And then she came over. We listened to a lot of music. It was very surreal for me as a fan. And we became friends after that.
Do you still live in that same apartment with those same roommates, or has life changed a little bit for you?
I don't. I think I started to piss them off I started traveling a lot more, coming and going, coming home late from DJing.
Yeah.
They sort of, they were in love, actually. So they're still there together, and I packed my things and got out.
Bigger and better things. If you can have another artist, dead or alive, who could reach out to you out of the blue and have a similar experience, they want to come over, listen to music, get to know you, maybe collab, who's one of those for you?
It's a really good question. I mean, I'm sad I'd never met Tom Verlaine in New York from television. He's one of my all-time heroes, and Marquee Moon was kind of one of the first records I ever became obsessed with as a teenager. And it's also just so New York and sort of genre-less. It's punk, but it's not really punk. And I think it's sad that he passed away just a few years ago. I didn't end up meeting him, but that would have been really great.
They're kind of the band that you can point to as sort of starting this whole genre in a way. I know the Strokes were a big influence, or influenced rather by television. Yeah. I assume the Strokes for you. So it's sort of this cycle. And that was a great band and great record, obviously. What's the biggest thing that success has changed for you in your day-to-day life?
I think probably the biggest change is just traveling, being on planes all the time. I used to be pretty afraid of flying and hated it a lot, and now it's just sort of a weekly part of my life, and not really, staying in one place. I do live in New York technically, but I also just travel so much for shows and for various DJ things and recording things with people, and that's just been something to get used to, just being sort of like a nomad in a way. But it's also wonderful. I've just been to so many cool places. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Want to talk about your Coachella set a little bit. Super chaotic, super fun. A lot of people calling it the highlight of weekend one in the Mojave tent, which is the same location as the Sahara tent where it used to be, like the early Coachella days. And like it's the same spot where Daft Punk performed in '06, and it really had that sort of like early days of Coachella, Sahara tent vibe, while still feeling very fresh in 2025. How do you pull that off sonically, aesthetically, and just putting that set together and really making something that people are going to be talking about when we think back on great Coachella sets?
Yeah, I think kind of even since the beginning of playing live shows as the Dare, the visual side of it was always influenced by Daft Punk, Justice, and sort of like the use of geometry, lighting, set design, stage design. Growing up, like going to shows by Sleigh Bells, like that was some of the earliest live show experiences I had. And I think when we designed the stage setup, it was always with, a larger stage in mind, or even that, maybe subconsciously or consciously, the, Coachella stage in mind. So I remember even like 2 or 3 years ago playing at like Baby's All Right, and sort of debuting our live lighting setup there. And people were just like, "Oh my God, this is like an arena show. Like it's ready to go." So not much has actually changed over the course of the live show. We've just sort of pumped it up a little bit more for this weekend. It's
got like this simultaneously a setup that looks incredibly intentional, like a team of people put it together, while having like a DIY aesthetic to it. Perfect for Coachella 2025. Was that intentional?
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, because the team is really just my manager, Bryce, me, and our lighting guy, Steven. So
3 people total to make that happen?
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. So it's a pretty small team, but we're just very intentional and very, very critical, and pull from a lot of different influences to inform what we're doing up there. So
that's incredible. Shout out to Bryce and your team.
That's right.
You're a huge part, maybe like the biggest part of what describe as like this like indie sleaze revival. Does it ever feel like you're kind of living in a sequel of Meet Me in the Bathroom? Like the book, like right now?
I think it did more when I was in New York for longer periods of time, like at the beginning of all of this. I remember going to see the Meet Me in the Bathroom movie with my friend, who also plays in a bunch of bands in New York, and she was like, is this our lives right now?
Yeah.
Like, this seems very similar.
Yeah.
And it is similar in many ways. I'm sure the people who are all there would argue that it's completely dissimilar. And there are many things that are very, very different about it. But I think the spirit of it is sort of what is the same, the idea of, not even just the idea of this moment of Renaissance in New York where there's all of these bands and many different genres, and like everyone sort of has their own values of what they think music should sound like and how long the set should be and what kind of clothes you should wear or shouldn't.
Right.
And I feel like that was a new thing after I've been in New York for like almost 8 years now, and the first half or 2/3 of it was not feeling that way at all. There was not this sort of sense of explosion of music and style and excitement around that. So it does feel pretty good, and it feels, at least from reading the book, somewhat similar to that.
When did you kind of feel that changing in New York?
I think it was definitely post-COVID. I think a lot of musicians especially were frustrated or sort of twiddling their thumbs during COVID and feeling like a lot of precious time was taken away from them to sort of pursue their thing, as well as, everybody. But live music in particular took a blow, and socializing, obviously, everybody was craving that. So I think when things opened back up, people had more of an urgency and excitement around just partying, hearing live music,
like letting it all out. Kind of thing. Yeah,
just going to the bar. Like that's also a big part of the meet me in the bathroom thing. There's a quote where they said people stopped going out 5 days a week and instead they went out 7 days a week. So
good for them. Yeah, I love that quote. Great book, Meet Me in the Bathroom. We're backstage here at Coachella, KROQ, The Dare. If a sequel to that book, which kind of, for those who don't know, sort of like talks about the early 2000s, the Strokes, that whole scene with the Kills and the aforementioned bands from earlier. If a sequel is ever written, is there a story in particular that you think they should include in there from your experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I've had a lot of messed up experiences over the last year or two.
And I'll say, we're pre-recording, full transparency, so we can always cut it.
Okay, wonderful. I don't know what a really good one is. There's been a couple of cool moments where a lot of the bands that have been buzzing have been in the same room and sort of looking at each other, getting very, very drunk, and somebody's jacket caught on fire. Someone was thrown out for smoking in the bathroom. Someone else was spilled alcohol all over the DJ mixer and killed it entirely mid-party. Another one was retrieved out of the freezer, which the bar stores it in for unknown reasons. The party resumes. I think it's just there's endless amounts of these like micro stories, but there was one night at Home Sweet Home in New York that was sort of the zenith of chaos in that way.
Nice.
I won't name names though.
Maybe one day. Just got a few more. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you visiting KROQ before your Coachella set weekend too. Your shows, your DJ sets, your performances have become like an event, like a true event for people. They dress up, they bring their friends. Your look was kind of like a trendy Halloween costume last year. What's the wildest or like best fan experience you've had recently?
Well, a lot of people make sort of tribute songs, which I think is very funny. Like people will make music in my style because it's become so recognizable. So I'm always a little bit flattered and entertained by that. I think fan-wise, I think it's just Halloween was actually kind of a crazy moment for me. I was back in New York and walking around the East Village, and I was dressed up as a sailor, and everybody else was dressed up as me. So that was pretty weird to like sort of try and keep my head down, and you know, a group of people dressed as me walking past, and they go, "Hey," and I just kept walking very quickly. But it was surreal, to say the least.
What a crazy, bizarro world you were living in at that time, in that moment. You're going to be on the road with Justice for a few shows coming up. Anything you're excited about in particular for those?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so you might have to cut it, but I did do a remix of one of their songs. I don't know if that's going to come out, but I'm excited to play that, probably as part of the set, as long as I have their blessing. Yeah, I think it's a cool moment for me, you know, because they were just so influential in my understanding and love of dance music at a really young age. Like at that same time that I was listening to Marquee Moon, I also had, you know, Cross burned to a CD, and I had Discovery burned to a CD, and just having the opportunity to open for them is just a total honor. And I think teenage me would just freak out if he knew that was happening. So
you just sold out 7 shows in New York, right?
Yeah.
There's rumors of like maybe like a low key like I don't know, DJ set in LA coming up this week. Is there anything you can tease there or talk about now?
Yeah, there definitely will be a surprise DJ set in LA next week. The shows and babies in New York, they're all going to have surprise guests. So I think those will probably be revealed either day of, or you'll just have to find out later who you missed or didn't. That's about it.
Keep an eye on the Dare's social media for updates on that potentially. What's Wrong with New York, the debut album, a deluxe edition coming out on June 13th. LCA, a new song already released. What can you tell us about the deluxe version of the record that's coming?
Yeah, the deluxe version is just 3 songs that I made during the process of writing the album alongside many others, but I felt these 3 were suitable for release. One of them is a cover of a sort of more obscure British band called The Sound that I sort of changed radically. And the other track, Cheeky, which everything's been, announced on streaming, but that one's sort of a really early demo that just never made the cut, but I've been playing in my live sets a lot, so a lot of people know it and I think are awaiting that one, so I'm pretty excited about that one.
June 13th, make sure you get that. I'll get you out of here on this. We've been talking about your history a little bit, how fast things are happening, how you're such an important producer and DJ in the world right now. When you think about who you were just a couple years ago, right? Like substitute teaching, DJing in clubs before you blew up. What would that version of yourself then say about what's going on with you right now?
I really don't know. I think it would be interesting. I think a lot about what's happened in the last 2 years or 3 years has been very, very intentional, music-wise and style-wise, and who I am DJing with or remixing. But a lot of it has just been a complete shock. The way that people respond, or the fact that I'm playing at Coachella is mind-blowing. I think if you told past me where everything is at now, he probably wouldn't believe you. But I think if he was forced to confront the truth, he would be pretty excited. So it's good.
So happy for you, man. The success, the music, it's inspiring as someone who's been coming to Coachella for like over 20 years now, to see someone like you just existing and making music and really lighting that fire for us who have been into this music for so long. Girls is a song that we were listening to in KROQ meetings for months and months, and it got to the point where it actually inspired a show called KROQ EQ, which we have now on Saturday nights at midnight, which is all things electronica music. And the genesis of that show existing now is based on your song and you and Girls.
That's great.
So thank you for that. Thank you for taking so much time with KROQ here at Coachella.
My pleasure.
Miles the DJ, backstage at Coachella with The Dare.